loss. We brought this up coming after the loss to Stanford. Not sure. I don't know if they've named an interim. I'm not sure if Graham Harrell. Is it Graham Harrell?
No,
it's not Graham Harrell, the offensive coordinator.
Dante Williams, the cornerback coach.
Okay. Ooh.
And he's the associate head coach.
Okay.
He was probably that anyway, but he's the cornerbacks coach. But yeah, Dante Williams.
We were just mentioning that. Of course, it's a hot topic on the chat room as well about how they just, we discussed this a little bit ago. I mean, the high expectations. They got what looks like a favorable schedule. And, man, you're talking about 2 games into the season?
Well, I mean, you can make the argument he shouldn't have been coaching this season anyways.
Yeah.
Do you realize how hot
that means you made the mistake to bring him back.
Well,
you're admitting to that.
Well, duh, they're firing him in week 2. Yeah, clearly they made but I mean, again, the buyout money and just he's a nice guy and, hey, they have a little bit of mojo going. Let's see, let's just give it one more go around. And that was bad enough on Saturday night that they can't drag it out anymore. Like they cannot do it or they will have a full-on civil war in Los Angeles on USC's campus over the lack of decision. So it was something they had to do. Like I said earlier, when Keyshawn Johnson starts popping off and you have your big alums who are clearly unhappy, I mean, that's not good for recruiting. That's not good for fans. That's not good for fundraising. That's not good for anything. So they had no choice. I mean, it probably did come too late. But to do it any longer and risk them going out, again, this weekend and getting throttled by – I mean, I don't know who's on their schedule moving forward. But, I'm not surprised at all. I'm surprised it actually took till Monday at nearly 4:30 for, I guess, 3:30 their time for it to actually happen. I was expecting it bright and early this morning because it was that obvious to me on Saturday night that he had to be fired. So they released a statement from the AD. Said he informed Helton this afternoon of the decision about making a change in leadership, called Helton one of the finest human beings he's met in the industry and a tremendous role model and mentor to their young men, and appreciates all the years of service and wishes him nothing but the best. But he says, as I committed to upon my arrival at USC the past 2 off seasons, we provided every resource necessary for football to compete for championships. The added resources carried significantly increased expectations for the team's performance, and it is already evident that despite the enhancement, those expectations would not be met without a change in leadership.
Well,
so there you go.
There you go. Clay Helton out at USC, the quarterback's coach. Williams takes over. Not sure what the role will be for the offensive coordinator, Graham Harrell.
I'm not shocked at all that Graham was not named interim head coach. I mean, first of all, he was not the associate head coach. So second of all, I mean, he's not really proven that he's ready to handle the reins of USC, I don't think. I mean, he's been a good little coordinator, but many USC fans don't think he's doing that good of a job through 2 games. So, I don't know that would have been a move that would have been very well received just based off of social media. But, the coaching search, that's going to be fascinating. That's not going to happen for a while, but that's going to be fascinating because that's a big gig.
That's a big boy deal. And now, one of the things Bruce Feldman mentioned in this, he'd been on the hot seat really since 2018.
Yeah, I mean,
so you're talking about 4 signing classes, four classes. And you're on the hot seat. You don't think they've been using that against him, even though they get what they want a lot of times?
But their recruiting has not been good. I mean, they've not gotten the guys that they need.
Well, because no one wants to go there thinking he's going to be fired any of the last 4 years.
The thing is, there's probably 4 or 5 guys at jobs that USC just can't go. Like, they can't go get Saban or Dabo or somebody like that. But outside of that, they can pretty much have anyone they want.
You know who would be available probably sooner rather than you expect? Jaguars don't look very good.
Urban.
Pete Thamel already with an early list for USC. So, I mean, who knows if they will even speak to half these people. But do y'all want to hear the early list for USC just so some fan bases will start to get nervous and have to go through this whole thing again? And look, Baylor's been through it. We've seen this with countless coaches. But early list for USC, James Franklin. Makes a lot of sense, right? Mm-hmm. Matt Campbell.
Yep.
Bill O'Brien.
Yep.
Luke Fickell, PJ Fleck, Mario Cristobal, which I don't know why Cristobal would leave Oregon, but Greg Schiano and Tony Elliott.
Elliott from Clemson, who's been very loyal.
He also said former coaches who could be sought include Chris Peterson and Bob Stoops. So that's just Pete Thamel saying, his list. There you go. There's Armstrong's got the tweet up. That was from just 2 minutes ago. But there's one writer's early list for USC.
Now, I'm not off the top of my head, but there's some sort of connection. I've seen James Franklin's name attached to USC before, and I don't know what it is. I know, Craig, you're looking up his bio. Matt Campbell, Bill O'Brien, I don't know if that would incite. I mean, I don't know if that would give them a jolt or not. Obviously, he's now with the New England, Alabama. But, that's the jump. Go to Alabama, restart your career. He's done it with a lot of different people.
Luke Fickell is where?
Cincinnati.
Where did Mike Bone come from?
Cincinnati.
Who hired Luke Fickell?
Yeah.
Mike Bone.
And what I learned, even at not just the college level, I learned this eventually at the high school level. I know this is like but when a coaching a change happens, and you sit there and this guy makes this. Where did somebody who is the superintendent, where was he before, or a principal, or both? And who have they hired before? And that's the same thing with college football as well. Tony Elliott at Clemson. Schiano's been back and forth in from the, all over the place. There's your buddy P.J. Fleck, Paul. Cristobal, that would be something that, you have USC, no matter what Oregon just did. I love what I heard from Cristobal after they beat Ohio State. I mean, that was a huge win for them. Just the name being on this list, though, has got to be annoying for Ducks fans.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. That's why I was bringing it up, because it's like if you're an Iowa State fan, it's like Matt Campbell again, like for every job. But, the thing is like this isn't just some job. This is Southern Cal. I mean, this is one of the top probably 5 jobs, if not a top 3 job in the entire country that's about to open up. We saw what Texas did. They moved very quickly after Herman because it was clear that Del Conte had been setting that up for months and months and months, kind of like their exit from the Big 12.
Here's, you're right.
Yeah. Well, kind of sly, that guy. But, that's going to be a very intriguing job to see who emerges.
From the 3-1-0 to give us more insight on USC, then we'll break and come back with more. Helton would have been fired a couple of years ago, but school was under interim president. Wouldn't make the cut on coach or AD until new president came in. Came in from North Carolina, immediately fired the AD. Fans expected Mike Bone to be involved in hiring the new coach. Then last year was just enough to scrape by because they won despite heinous play and pandemic. You can definitely expect him gone in less dramatic turnaround. Craig is totally right about the angry fan base. That was a text he sent us before the news came out. Then this, tens of thousands of empty seats in the House. Remember, they had to fire Lane Kiffin under such huge pressure that it was done at 3 a.m. on a tarmac in LAX. Immediately live tweet announced new president transition was the only reason that Clay Helton survived as long as he did, thanks to the 3-1-0.
That was the joke going around on Saturday night, was get ready for Lane Kiffin Part 2. He's not even going to make it off the, on the plane. And turns out that it wasn't exactly like that. It lasted another day or so, but they made a quick decision. It's the decision they had to make. I mean, they had to after Saturday night.
Well, and the tens of thousands of empty seats is a big thing. Now, look, it's California. Pandemic rules are a little bit different than they are here. But the bottom line is that if you're not putting butts in seats, the buyout money and all that starts to become a wash. You think about, okay, we've got to pay a coach $25 million buyout, but if we kept him, we're going to lose $35 million in ticket sales because nobody's coming to this game, even if we had free hot dogs and sodas. It's just not going to happen.
And donor money and that kind of thing is hurt too.
It all comes out in the wash eventually. And while the buyouts are silly, I've talked about it many times, but sometimes you just have to pull that trigger and go, okay, here it's it. And Clay Helton is going to be on another staff, and he'll be well respected as an assistant coach wherever he goes, but USC was not the job for him, and they waited probably too long to do it, and because of that, they probably missed out on, because you mentioned Urban Meyer. I think the Cons will do whatever they can to keep Urban Meyer if they like him. Jacksonville looks bad, but we expected him to be bad. So
it's going to be more Urban than it is going to be them, in my opinion. It's like, does his heart hold up this time when they are 0-6 and getting their brains beat in? Because they're a bad football team. I mean, even Trevor Lawrence didn't polish in that turd. I'm sorry, but in 2 years, okay, it could turn into something. But is Urban going to stick through losing and having to build from scratch, basically? That's where I'm unsure.
No, he did say something on Hard Knocks that I thought was interesting, in that he said, they caught it on the open mic when he and McCarthy were talking. Urban Meyer, Mike McCarthy said, hey, how's it going? He goes, you know what? It's great. It's just football. I don't have any recruiting. I don't have any donor meetings. I don't have all this.
That's true.
The dog and pony show stuff they had to do. So I wonder, and again, Urban is, concerned about his health, supposedly.
Right.
Those are kind of things that would give you a headache, and so that's why I tend to think it makes sense. And they probably could have gotten Urban Meyer a couple years ago had they done it, and they probably should have. But
now, you know how many this is from Timothy. Since 1979, that's 42 years. Southern Cal has now had 9 head coaches. And I wonder if we went back among all the other, let's say, top 30, 40 teams. And his point was that Iowa's had 2, Hayden Fry, and then obviously with what they have now.
With Kirk Ferentz.
With Kirk Ferentz, who's been fantastic and steady as you could be. You're starting to see, for example, the team I love. That was all about, continuity. And then once Osborne retired, then you had, here we go. They're just split. There's just, continuity matters, even if things aren't good, if you can keep it somewhat within the same system. Now, sometimes you got to jumpstart a place. This will be interesting. James Franklin and USC's been connected. I looked at his Wikipedia page. I haven't seen much what the connection might be. If I'm USC from JS, I'm going hard for the Iowa State coach. And then Tim mentioned, it's the same colors, Iowa State and Southern Cal.
Same damn uniforms practically. When Iowa State unveiled their new uniforms or whatever, what was that, 3 or 4 years ago maybe? They were like a complete USC ripoff. They were the exact same except for the logo. That was it. I mean, even the shoulder, it was almost dead on. So yeah, I mean, he would basically just be swapping helmet logos. But he's the guy who is going to be mentioned for every single big job that opens up, and it's been happening. But now, it's one thing to say if this opens up or that opens up, but now we're talking about USC. That's a little bit different than just a tier 2 school. We're starting to get down to the top 10 programs of all time type of a job. So I'm not sure what his preference is. I know Iowa State fans will say he's going to be there forever or whatever. And that very well may be true. But, I mean, he's definitely going to be one of those that gets a look. There is no question about that. It's just going to be how interested is he in listening and how interested is James Franklin. And USC fans out there or somebody that would know, could you please explain the long-lasting James Franklin USC connection and why that has been a thing for so long? Because I'm not sure exactly why.
Well, it just could be that he's kind of a
right.
I
mean, is it just the fact that he's a popular coach and you think he'd be good there? If that's so, I totally get that. But if there's another connection that I just am unaware of, I'd like to know that. It'd be interesting information.
From Shooter TX, by the way, combined USC opening with Matt Campbell, lackluster responses on today's conference call. I'll give odds that Campbell is going to the Trojans. That's just a thought. Let's break. Let's come back. Clay Helton out at Southern Cal. We'll hear from Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, on many things at 5. What time, Paul? 5 or 5:15? What did we decide on that?
5.
5 o'clock with Dave Aranda. So let's do this. 254-339-1122. Since we started this show on April 6th of 2020, then we went to YouTube thanks to Armstrong. We were in the studio. It was a year ago this weekend that this studio was launched after doing the show from the second floor of Paul's house for many months. YouTube exploded. One of the reasons it did is we're going to cover Baylor. We're going to cover Texas high school football. We're going to cover the Cowboys, but it's because of nationally what it's brought to you as well and vice versa. And so we will get to that and your reactions to it and your wish list of who you think might be next. 254-339-1122.
And I'll leave you with this. I'm sure some of y'all are aware of the website coacheshotseat.com. I like to just go and take a look at it every once in a while. And, there's no exact science on the heat of a seat, right? But it was pretty clear that Clay Helton was in the danger zone on Saturday night. And as of today, Coach's Hot Seat, and they probably have had him for a while, but they had Clay Helton as the number 1 hot seat in college football. And now he's done. So on to the next one. That's a big gig opening up. Some of the other names that are on there, Dino Babers at Syracuse, Scott Frost, obviously, Harbaugh at Michigan, and Holgerson at Houston. There's others, but Helton was the number 1, and now he has fallen off the list.
I saw this, and I just lost the text or chat. We got to break. We have to break. I'm going to go buy my season tickets again.
Oh, okay.
From somebody that follows USC. I think it was Walter Stokes.
Fight on.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man